Alrighty, guys. It is 3:30 this Wednesday, April 23rd. Time to wrap it up. And we're getting some afternoon weakness here. So what we talked about in the last update, we were up here against that first bounce on the volume weighted mean. We were down here against the Tablet, and this was not a buying opportunity. It took a little bit lower before they retraced a little bit. Here's almost a retest of the mean, but not quite. But it's still an attempt to take it higher. So this was the best short you could have gotten on for a rotation down. As I thought, a pretty good shot at retesting these lows, and so far we're down here. Definitely down here testing the low. Let's see if that's going to be it, or if they're going to take it out or not. So now we have the retest failure setting up, or the retest setting up. If it's failure, it's anyone's guess yet. So it looks like it's bouncing a little bit, but definitely back down here testing the lows. Let's see what happens. This little bounce, the first bounce, not going to worry about that one. That could just be a bounce off the lows. But the question is really if they start taking out some of these rotations on the way up here. If so, we may have a shot at seeing a little bit of a move back here to the mean into the close. But at this point, we'll see. Starting off range bound though, I would keep the bias to the downside. If they close above this mean at the 35s, that would be back up here against a little bit higher. Then if they can close above the mean, I would start off range bound. If they close below it, I would start with a slight bias to the downside, see if they can retest these lows in the overnight. But so far for that, we had a pretty nice rally to get started. And it was really nice overnight, and then a pretty good pop to the upside. And since then, it's been just kind of a steady pressure to the downside all afternoon. So that's kind of how it goes. And now it looks to me like at least we had this shot at the retest failure. We'll see if that's going to materialize. And still kind of the verdict is still out on that. But anyway, so below the mean, start from the short side. If they cannot get up to the mean before they close, start range bound. That's kind of the way I'm starting off this thing. Now, news for tomorrow morning. Let me see. News for tomorrow. That would be Thursday. We have news. Durable goods and jobless claims. Chicago Fed at 8:30. Existing home sale at 10:30. Oh, sorry, at 10, and then nat gas at 10:30. So that's what you got. 7-year auction at 1. So that's what you got on tap for tomorrow. So that's where we have it. So 8:30, 10 o'clock, and 10:30 we have news for tomorrow. Now looking at the bonds and the Nasdaq, so no trades on the. I haven't taken a trade today. It's just been too crazy, and it's been pretty busy morning, so I have not got my head wrapped around it. So and I didn't try to shoot from the hip, but this rotation down, this retest failure against the mean for rotations down, definitely a decent setup. On the Nasdaq, same story there. I had a pretty good move to the downside here. They're down here testing the lows again. So far, they're bouncing off the lows, but not quite in a spot where we can say that they're failing. They bounced first time off it. Let's see if they can start taking out some of these resistance areas. If so, above the mean, start off range bound. Below the mean, start off on the short side. So that's the same dynamic there. But it's pretty weak going into the afternoon at least. That doesn't mean we may get. I mean, as you saw the other day, you can get a nice little rally going into the close. That would be a bargain hunt rally. People picking up stuff late in the session. We're not quite there yet. So at this point, it still looks like we have pressure to the downside. And it's anyone's guess if they're going to try to knock this lower, or if it's going to be like a buying opportunity here towards the lows. But anyway, towards the lower end of the range, I would not be aggressive buyer here at the low at this point. If they start popping to the upside pretty hard, that would be a spot you can hop on. But that would happen. It's going to happen in the last 10 minutes if it happens. So late in the session to put on a lot of trades, that's for sure. And the bonds back down again. They're back into that 114, 15, 16. So they're back to the attractor we talked about. So bond market, nice move to the upside, back to the attractor. And so the news for the bond market was really about the Powell not going to get fired, and some other stuff they talked about in the White House. But whatever that Waller guy said in the morning, that's definitely put the stinker on the bond market. They took it all the way back down here to the 114.08. So there you have it. So I would say range bound bond market at this point. I mean, if anything, I'll start from the short side to see if you can retest these lows, maybe take out the 114 and start heading lower. That's kind of the way I would look at that. If they can't take it out, looking for rotation back to that 114.16. So, and then finally, oil and gold. So gold, a pretty good move to the downside, has not retraced a whole lot. Still holding below 3,300, and that's a pretty good move to the downside for gold. So they definitely have some weakness going on there. And but if they can close above this area, the 3320s, I would start range bound. If they otherwise, I would start on the short side and see how far they can take it. So they got some levels to retrace. You know, gold. They're down here against this area. So you have an attractor down right, pretty good one here at the 3230 to 40s. So far they bounced off the that low volume area. We'll see if they're going to start retracing or if they're going to re-challenge that low. I would probably look for a retest of that low going into tomorrow. See if they can take it lower. That's the way I would look at it. So I would start off on the short side on gold. If they close above the 3320s or 18 to 20s, I would start off range bound. So that's how I'm going to start off on gold. And on oil, a big move to the downside. Nice little move. Oh, get this fucking thing right. Hang on. So on oil, it's time to fold this together like that. There you go. So on oil to the downside, back here to the mean, and looking at capital flow for oil, we're trading June oil. We're right back into this attractor right now. So at this point, I would start off looking at more range-bound trading around this mean. If anything, slight bias to the downside. If they close above this area, the 6280s, that single print C at 6280s, I would start on the long side, see if they can take this higher. Otherwise, I would look at range-bound trading with a bias to the downside. See if they can retest this low, potentially take it lower. So that's how we get started on oil. At this point, pointed lower or slight bias to the downside, I should say. We are primarily range bound. We are at that attractor, yes, shy of that attractor. So at 61. So I would probably think more primarily range bound trading, maybe bias to the downside. All right. So that is oil and gold. Back to the ES, and anyone's guess now if they're going to be able to take this lower. Here you have them running the stops below the obvious. Here the first bounce, they run it over. Here's the key in the moment of truth right now. So I mean, if they can hold this level right now, we may have a nice retest going. If not, we may see them close this whole freaking gap before they close. That could be a pretty beautiful short trade late in the session, but I'm not going to trade it. That's going to be a little bit too crazy, but. So potential retest failure setting up right now on the ES, and that could be a nice retracement back up. Or if they start knocking it down, watch that lower ledge at the 5380s. That comes out, bets are off. We are heading lower at that point. So we'll see how this market feels about the close. When you're going to get some bargain hunting, or it's going to be a flat out weakness. All right, we'll leave it there for now. I'll see you back in the morning, bright and early. You guys have a great evening. Later.